Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna be reacting to
We went to Miami. The
Who
inequality will
went?
shock you.
Who went?
So, guys, if you've been watching our channel, y'all know we live in Miami.
Yes.
So, you want to see this
We'll see if
video?
it's true. If
Well, the headline is true. I don't need to see
what
the
does it mean?
video.
We went to Miami.
Basically, there's a lot of rich and a lot of poor. There's no middle
Oh,
class. It's
well,
true,
yeah.
but I want to see what they got to say. So, let's see.
When was this?
Welcome to Miami.
Benvenido a Miami. This is
Okay,
24th.
cents.
a week
I feel
ago.
like first of all, what you see on TV, you see it, but it's like one block and that's it.
Well, that's the inequality. What you see on TV is the rich, but you don't see the poor. So, yes.
A city whose bright lights and tropical weather have attracted bachelorette parties and beachgoers since the dawn of time.
Enjoy Miami.
But over the past 10 years, Miami's population of millionaires has nearly doubled. Enticed by Florida's lack of taxes, out-of-state billionaires
Oh,
are
that's
rapidly
cool.
developing.
Look at the girls.
Miami and hello,
Florida.
So much so, its skyline is now the third tallest in the country, right behind New York and Chicago. But while Miami
I did not know that fact.
Yeah.
That's cool.
is touting a new era for the ultra-wealthy, the very people who build these skyscrapers are getting left behind.
Imagínate cómo es de irónica la vida, porque somos los que construimos casas, construimos edificios, y somos los que más sufrimos por pagar una renta.
I thought they weren't gonna show his face because the way it's kind of. I thought that he's hiding his face. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's not like
Miami developers are known for building big projects incredibly quickly, no matter what.
Every 4 days in Florida.
Yes,
construction
the-
Yeah.
What?
What?
Every 4 days in Florida, a construction worker dies on the job. What the fuck?
I'm not surprised because those structures are really high.
I did not know that fact.
And they want things to be built fast, so I'm not surprised.
But yeah, the way they build fast. Like the
Yeah.
skyscrapers show up, these tall ass buildings in a year or two. Like they build fast.
But what's interesting is that the roads are not finished. Like the road,
Honestly,
will stay the same for like years and years and
I'm-
years and years.
I'm convinced the roads is just money laundering, because the roads is always there's something being done to the roads. I don't know.
worker dies on the job.
And workers are fleeing the state because of it.
Si no cambian las condiciones, obviamente,
Oh
yo soy de las
yeah.
personas que no se queda donde
I've
está mal,
seen
yo me muevo.
strikes not only with construction people, but those who also are responsible for cleaning the spaces, sanitation workers, because they are not paid fairly too as well, given the amount of work that they do and the risk that they put themselves in too.
Now, with a $3 billion urban redevelopment project on the line, one of the biggest in Miami's history, construction workers are fighting back. We went down to the 305 to figure out who will define the future
This is downtown
of
Miami.
Miami skyline. After 29
Business
years of living
district.
in Seattle, Jeff
So I guess this is about the construction workers focused on that particular area.
Bezos made an announcement in 2023.
Jeff Bezos posting on Instagram last night that he's leaving Seattle after nearly 30 years. He's going to move to Miami.
The move to Florida saved him around $1 billion in capital gains and personal income taxes. But Bezos wasn't the only one percenter moving to Miami. From 2012 to 2022, 38,000 millionaires, 160 centimillionaires, and 12 billionaires moved into the city.
I have never heard the term centimillionaire in my life before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What does that even mean?
100 million plus.
Oh.
The interesting term. I just never heard it.
In fact, Miami has more
You know what I
centimillionaires
heard
than
of?
Mm.
Thousandaires.
Good.
homes than any other city in the country.
Quite chic.
And now it's one of the most unequal and
Wow.
unaffordable
Okay, this
places
is like
to
Little
live.
Haiti.
Little Haiti.
This massive accumulation
Wow.
of wealth didn't
It's
happen
like by
by
Miami Shores. Wow, wow, wow.
accident. Let's go back to December 2020, nearly a year into the pandemic. Self-described village idiot Delian Asparuhov, a venture capitalist, tweeted, "Okay guys, hear me out. What if we move Silicon Valley to Miami?" Miami Mayor Francis Suarez responded a few hours later, "How can I help?" Suarez rolled out the welcome mat to every morally questionable financial institution in America.
You know, we in Miami believe that government should facilitate, not that government should dictate.
Lured by low taxes and little regulation, crypto companies, investment firms, and billionaire founders flocked to South Florida.
This crypto bull.
Yeah,
from
he's
Trade
very
Station
big
really
on crypto.
symbolizes-
Like he's very into like tech, having tech come into Miami, crypto. I never heard so much talk from like government officials who are inviting cryptocurrency.
how the gravitational center of gravity of the country has moved from San Francisco in venture capital and private equity in New York to the city of Miami.
Between 2020 and 2023, 105 financial firms relocated to South Florida, including the massive hedge fund Citadel and its billionaire CEO, Ken Griffin.
The men and women who serve in public office have a mindset of how can we
So
help. It is a
Silicon Valley became too expensive for them.
Maybe that or the weather. I don't know. Well, also don't forget income tax. Florida doesn't have any.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
But
big.
it's always never had. So
Yeah.
now it's just like at this point, the money is too much to pay over in Silicon Valley. So it's rather, because why now? Like the whole time they were always rich.
I don't know. I don't know why now. Good question though.
get it done mindset that is often lacking
As somebody just tweeted a random thought and it became a thing.
in the northern cities.
As Miami quickly became Wall Street South, its skyline did too. Spurred
Also maybe it cleaned up a little because Miami has been known a bit for like the cocaine and like violence and whatnot. So maybe it cleaned up that perception a little bit.
by pro-development policies and regular changes that allowed buildings to be taller, luxury developers rushed to build. There are currently more skyscrapers under construction in Miami than in every West Coast state combined. But for the workers constructing Miami's growth, the wealth hasn't trickled down.
I thought to myself, how is it, that the very workers who we rely on to build our housing here in Miami can't afford a roof over their own heads?
Zaina Al-Sus is a director at We Count, an organization fighting for better living and working
I think,
conditions.
their, what do you call it? Their pay is marketed quite high too as well. I think they always try to appeal to people to join into constructions, given that it maybe starting is like $20, but then there's room for it to grow. So that's so fascinating.
In South Florida. She's standing up for the people Miami has left behind, people like Arturo.
Lo más bonito, pues, como siempre lo digo, es cuando el edificio se termina. Si me sacan un día voy a ir al edificio y me voy a sentar a tomar un café abajo para decir,
Wow, I can imagine.
estas luces las
The
hice yo.
passion,
Y
wow.
eso.
Yeah.
Esa es la parte que a mí me encanta. El
So
ver mi
that's
trabajo
super
terminado.
cool.
Arturo has been working as an electrician for the last 18 years across the US. He moved to Miami last year to be closer to his family.
No tenemos el nivel de vida que deberíamos de tener. Y no estamos pidiendo que sea exagerado. No quiero vivir como los desarrolladores, ni mucho menos, pero por lo menos tener las condiciones medias de un trabajador calificado como nosotros.
Lo de la renta de aquí de la Florida es una exageración.
That's Candido Ariel, a carpenter who lives in Little Havana with his wife, daughter, and grandson.
Definitely, Little
vivir aquí en
Havana
Miami
has
ya-
transformed over the times. I can imagine what's the rate for
Yeah,
rent
'cause
over there.
it's close to downtown, So like as the downtown spreads, everybody kind of moves into Little Havana. Yeah.
Ya es un lujo.
Since 2023, the average monthly rent of a two-bedroom apartment has risen over 21%. No major American metro area has seen such a steep rise.
Yes, I have seen that stat that Miami has increased the most in the whole country.
We found that 8 out of 10 construction workers who we talked to, mind you, on projects valued at $10 million or above, 8 out of 10 of these workers had struggled to pay rent in the last year.
Yo estoy ganando menos que lo que yo ganaba hace 18 años.
Wow.
Because of
Yes, that is true because the value of the dollar has decreased and the wages hasn't really increased that much. So guess what's going to happen? Your living standard is going down.
the way the industry is currently organized, really around subcontractors. What it's created is essentially a race to the bottom. So the companies that get the contracts tend to get contracts because they can offer to do the work for the lowest price. And so those who suffer the most in this arrangement are the workers.
Unfortunately, their suffering doesn't stop at salaries.
You know, every 4 days in Florida, a construction worker dies on the job. And that's completely related to the way in which
they never say that in the news. We never hear about that in the news.
Yeah,
That's like a
I
stat
didn't
that's
know-
hidden.
I didn't know that fact either. Yeah.
labor standards have been degraded over time in the industry.
I mean, to be fair, it's not just Miami. She said in Florida, so Florida's a big state, one of the biggest in the country. So it's a
But
lot.
here in Miami, they're doing a lot of construction.
no,
so
I-
not one of them we ever heard anything.
Yeah, but to be fair, Tampa, I'm sure Tampa probably more because hurricane tears it down. They have to rebuild. Tampa, Orlando, Jackson, all those cities doing construction. So I would like to see that stat Specific about Miami or not just Florida?
But I feel like we should at least seen at least one in local news, because those things, I feel like in local news you hear very like mundane, like random
it is very
events
random,
that
very
happen.
random,
So not one of them connecting to this construction.
Well, that's why they're doing this to light more, and this is a fundraiser too. So they're trying to. I don't know what they're fundraising for, but they raised $11,000.
Wow.
What are they raising this funds for? I don't know what they're raising it for. It doesn't say. Well, whatever. I guess maybe to fund these videos.
El trabajo de nosotros en la construcción es bastante difícil. Tú te levantas a las 4:30, 4:40 de la mañana y te vas. Tú no sabes si vas a regresar.
Wow.
Yo he visto muchos accidentes
Wow.
de personas que pierden la vida en la industria de la construcción.
In 2024, Candido Ariel worked on Block 55, a mega project for industry titan Swerdlow Group. He fell 4 floors trying to remove an anchor from a parking lot pillar, suffering bruises across his entire upper body. He was sent to a company-owned clinic to recuperate.
Simplemente el chequeo médico.
Company-owned clinic. So that means there's so many people get hurt that they figured instead of playing like insurance, they're like, oh, let's just get our own clinic. It's cheaper. That's how many people get hurt.
I don't know if you get a choice to go elsewhere.
You probably don't get a choice, but like that, this just shows how many people get hurt working for that company. That's crazy.
Te dicen, está bien y vete para tu casa. Solo te quedan viendo donde te golpeaste y ya, está bien.
That's basically, obviously, very similar cases, but like parallel would be like, you know how Amazon used to ship with USPS, UPS, FedEx. Eventually they realized, oh, we ship so much, we're gonna start our own shipping company, and they did. So like that's kind of shows you like in parallel how that works. Wow.
Bien, vaya, va a trabajar.
There's a lot of pressure in the construction industry for contractors to move from project to project. This includes asking or requiring workers to work long hours. When you add into it outdoor work, especially during the summer months, when the heat has been so intense, this also has an impact on workers' health and safety and their ability to protect themselves when the pace of work is increasing.
It is a South Florida scorcher. It is so hot outside, and there's not many ways to beat the heat.
En la mañana está tal vez la temperatura a 100.
That's local 7 news.
80% of construction workers in South Florida who we surveyed didn't receive any kind of heat safety training. People can die. They can pass out. They can experience really severe illnesses, kidney failure.
Hay muchas compañías
Kidney failure.
Dehydration, maybe. I'm not sure.
No tienen un lugar donde tú puedas descansar. Donde si tú te das un golpe de calor o te sientes mal, no tienen directamente una clínica en el proyecto donde te puedan llevar, te puedan recuperarte.
While pay is unjustifiably low for these jobs, even in the safest conditions, workers like Arturo and Candido are lucky if they even get to see that money.
I wish they get to say the breakdown of this money.
31% of the qualifying Miami construction workers we count surveyed didn't receive the overtime pay they deserved.
Hay gente que ha venido y nunca no ha salido de otro estado, solo aquí en la Florida o en Miami para ser específico, y ellos no saben qué cosa es overtime. Y vos sabes que ese es un robo. Es un robo a todas luces por donde lo mires.
So maybe they're hiring illegal immigrants who don't really know,
understand
how the laws work, and also because they're illegal, they're afraid they're not going to go to authorities because they're afraid.
I think that if you're going to turn construction into an industry in which people are being forced to risk their lives for poverty wages, I think we're going to be in for a rude awakening when these worker shortages only continue to expand.
Ya no tengo edad para estarme moviendo, pero las condiciones laborales sí me empujarían a moverme.
As the pace of building intensifies in Miami, developers are struggling to find workers. But instead of addressing the problem, industry leaders and politicians are doubling down on the policies that created it. The leading construction industry lobbying group, the Associated Builders and Contractors, or ABC, came out with a report last year that celebrated Florida as one of the top states in the country for construction. Its rationale? Florida's low wages, lack of safety standards, and laws that make it harder for workers to unionize.
No estoy tan enterado de los sindicatos, de cuántos sindicatos hay aquí en la Florida, pero los que hay sí sé que son débiles, porque si no me he enterado quiere decir que no tienen fuerza.
Trade union membership in South Florida is now at an alarmingly low 7%, down 60% over the last 30 years. All of this is by design. Industry groups like ABC have spent tens of millions of dollars lobbying for this reality.
Because developers have been able to amass such enormous amounts of wealth in this country, which has then, led them to being able to donate millions of dollars to political campaigns. It unfortunately does set up a kind of pay-to-play dynamic and system.
And Miami's Mayor Suarez is not naive to this system.
So what we know now is that Mayor Francis Suarez was getting paid $10,000 a month for at least a period of almost 2 years by a developer, Rishi Kapoor.
I'm done. Thank you. I'm done.
In fact, Suarez has received over $2.5 million in donations from the development, construction, and real estate industry over the course of his career to do the bidding of developers. He got another $1 million from Republican mega donor Ken Griffin when the billionaire was planning to relocate his hedge fund to Biscayne Bay.
When you face a deluge of bureaucracy and waiting for permits and waiting for a meeting and waiting for this and waiting for that, it really kills the entrepreneurial life of a business. And it's such a contrast to be here in South Florida where you can make some pretty amazing things happen and you can do it really quickly.
Workers may not have the money to compete with billionaires like Griffin, but they are beginning to fight back.
Which is crazy because for regular people, it takes forever to get anything done.
Yeah, well, but that's always been the case with the money. You can fast track everything.
Pose redevelopment plans in Little Haiti.
But I have to say it out loud like that,
that was way too obvious. Yeah. You can get it done fast
out
here in
loud.
Miami. What does that mean?
Monstrous. A 65-acre multi-use property, including a train station. It is the white whale of Florida commercial developments.
We're literally building South Florida.
Sin trabajadores de construcción, no hay edificios, no hay apartamentos, y sin apartamentos y edificios,
You
no hay
know,
progreso.
there was a South Park movie about that, like the Alterverse, where everyone, all the people who are like in construction or doing work by hand is like not properly paid, and then it's switched where now they're very relied upon because they're the only ones who can actually get things done. Because if they stop doing people's maintenance or repairs, the people won't have any buildings built. Everything will be a mess. These are essential people.
And its members, alongside over 25 unions and community organizations, are insisting on a collective bargaining agreement for the project that addresses a living wage, responsible contracting, independent monitoring, and on-site urgent cares. We Count is also proposing to combine these
That would
urgent
be
cares
actually
with cooling
very
centers
cool
to
if they
combat
all
the
can like come together and say we're not doing anything.
But also, on-site urgent care. So how much injuries are they on the job if they want that on-site urgent care?
That's
crazy.
I was reading for Amazon, they have ambulance on deck.
Yeah, I heard that.
Ready to take someone to the hospital. Maybe now they have a hospital.
As Miami
themselves.
summers just get hotter.
La lucha no para ahí. Viste, eso va a ser, eso es el primer paso, sería grandioso si logramos con Don Michael Suerlo. De ahí la lucha sigue.
While negotiating a contract on such a behemoth development is a step in the right direction, the industry will need a larger overhaul to guarantee institutional change.
And it's going to be incumbent on government enforcement agencies
But it's
to
kind
closely
of like
monitor
a catch
construction.
21, 22, because the people also need money to pay their bills. The bills doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they're
So-
raising the funds and everything.
So how long can you protest for until you have to?
Because they
go to
know
work?
you have to eat, you have to take care of your family.
Yeah.
And work sites to ensure that the health and safety rules and regulations are being followed. Now, advocates have long criticized our existing wage and hour laws in this country as not having sufficient penalties against violators. In many states, we have a situation where the penalty is just to pay the workers what they were owed. That is not a sufficient deterrent to those employers that willfully are denying workers the payment for the work that they've completed. And so we need much more targeted enforcement efforts.
The Trump administration's response to
Yeah,
these
they
issues
should pay, I don't know, some sort of like interest on the money that was delayed, honestly, because if you don't pay the bank is going to charge you interest. Well, so why should this should be any other way? If you don't get paid by the time they should pay, you should charge them interest.
remains to be seen. However, his recent firings don't bode well for workers at large.
What Trump did is essentially neuter the National Labor Relations Board. So right now, union-busting corporations like Amazon and others can do what they do against workers with impunity.
On a more optimistic note, we do see workers continually trying to organize their workplaces in the construction industry. And we see the emergence of a range of workers' rights organizations that are helping those workers advocate for their rights, both in terms of health and safety on the job and also in terms of wage and hour violations and getting rid of wage theft.
There's a lot of irony in this story, but perhaps the simplest irony of all is that if these bad actors were held accountable, then the workforce that is rapidly fleeing to find better conditions elsewhere might actually want to stay and build.
Porque los trabajadores de la construcción tenemos derecho. Así como trabajamos, tenemos derecho. Ocupan nuestras manos para desarrollar, que ocupen las de ellos para darnos nuestro beneficio.
Can I see the comments in this one?
Yeah. Interesting video. Different than what I thought. Based on the headline, I thought
Yeah.
it would show the city more, like, you know, the two
I didn't know it was
sides.
focused
Yeah, I
on
didn't know it would show
construction's
focus
rights.
on construction, but it was a lot of the stuff I wasn't aware of anywhere. I'm getting the feeling that even if all the workers left, those billionaires will probably lobby for prison inmates to fill those vacant positions.
We've seen that already.
Yeah. As an European, it's incomprehensible that lobbying is not only accepted but also legal in America. Lobbying is straight up corruption. There's no way around it. It is. Corporations pay politicians to act in their own interests. How is that not corruption?
They say the balancing to that is that they have like limits.
Oh, yeah. So they open
But
another
there's
corporation.
loophole, yeah.
I live and grew up here. It sucks. All my friends and families are moving due to the inaccessibility of affordable housing and livable wages. Our mayors of Wall Street shill who abandon his own people for financial gain. Wage theft should be treated the same as normal theft, with jail time for the perpetrators.
Yeah.
Yeah, how is that any
I don't
different?
know how that's permissible.
That's theft, yeah.
Guys, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord, and as always, share as much kindness as possible.